Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Nelson, aka Amish Country Mets fan, and this is episode 3 of the Amish Apple Podcast. If you listen to my last little half an episode, you know that I'm rebranding the show a little bit. I want to interview fans from all across the country, all across the world. And my first guest today, I have Tom, who's from the UK. How's it going, Tom?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad. So, first things first, how did you become a Mets fan?
um, Quite a long story, really. So when I was a kid, back in school, we used to play a game called Rounders, which is kind of similar to baseball and softball, but rules are slightly different. So underarm pitching, you get one pitch. You've got to run to first, whether you hit it or not. I used to love playing. It's kind of like a summertime classic here in the UK. So I'd like really fond memories of that as a kid. And then sort of around the end of the late 90s, sort of early 2000s, we started getting MLB here in the UK on one of our 5 sort of national TV channels. And it was kind of like a highlights package. It wasn't like a full game. They did them every now and then, but it was mostly sort of, here's everything that's gone on in MLB over the last week. So I remember watching that as a kid. I didn't really have a team. It was more sort of, I was impressed by guys hitting home runs and, you know, the stuff that gets most people in at sort of a young age. And then sort of as I grew up, I met a girl from Boston when I was at university. I was quite into my ice hockey at that point. I was a Bruins fan, and so she saw the jersey and we got talking, and I ended up watching a few sort of Red Sox games with her. Not really a Red Sox fan, but again, sort of, it was around the time David Ortiz was playing, and like again, he smashed them out of the park all the time. So for me, it was quite fun to watch. And then sort of around about 2015, finally saved up enough money to come to New York, which had always been like a goal of mine. So I was a Knicks fan as a kid as well, and sort of at the time the Bruins were playing the Islanders in Brooklyn, so we managed to get tickets for that. Got tickets for Knicks as well for opening night. And whilst I was there, it was around the time the Mets had just beaten the Cubs in the NLCS, going into the World Series. And I remember being back in the hotel sort of every evening, and like I'd flick around the channels, and I came across SNY, and there's all the coverage of like the fans and sort of the buzz that was around the city during that point. And sort of having grown up in England, where sort of football or soccer is the main sport, I'm used to this sort of tribal sort of passion with fans, and it's never really been something that's really interested me. But sort of seeing that in the Mets fans, there's kind of like a similarity to the soccer world that I'd grown up in, and it sort of really grabbed my attention. I remember one day I was at a whiskey tavern having a couple of drinks, and the bartender was sort of talking to me. And I said about, oh, you know, these Mets, they're pretty good, right? And he was like, no, this is a Yankee town, and New York's a Yankee town. And I remember way back from like when I first started watching MLB, I always hated the Yankees, like the arrogance of them, and just that's not for me. So it really sort of, it bothered me that was his attitude, and he spent the next sort of hour trying to convince me to support the Yankees, which then made me even more determined to follow the Mets.
Good man.
So I watched the rest of the World Series. Obviously didn't go as well as we'd hoped, but I kind of sort of started getting into the baseball then a bit more, watching 4 games. And by the 2016 season, you know, by the time Bartolo hit his home run, I was hooked. I was like, this is the team for me. So I've started like reading up on all the history. I read a bunch of books, and you know, learned about the 69 Mets and the 73 Mets, the 86 Mets, you know, even the 93, 94 bad seasons. And, you know, I'm fully immersed in all of that sort of stuff. And by the time I got to David Wright's sort of farewell game, that was it. I was like, there's no turning back from this. To the point where I'd actually stopped watching ice hockey and basketball altogether. I was like, yeah, baseball, all in. Like, that's my only thing now. But around about that time, I had a couple of kids, so I couldn't get over to New York to watch the games. And then obviously COVID happened. So last year was actually the first time I got to go to Citi Field and see the Mets live in person, which was incredible. We were playing the Nationals. It was a David Peterson start, which if you gave me the choice, I wouldn't have chosen. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think it was 13-5 that game. We absolutely wiped the floor with them. Like, they were red hot at that point. Just absolutely had the best time. It was amazing. So in the off season, I've booked to come back again. So in 2 weeks' time, I'm back in New York. 4 games
2 weeks.
Time.
Nice.
Yeah, so gonna see the Phillies series, and then I get to squeeze in a Blue Jays game before I have to come back to the UK. But 4 games this time, so really looking forward to that. And then we had the announcement, or the rumored announcement, of Mets in London in 2024. So
I was going to say, you got to be pumped for that, no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the fact that I don't live in London, it's like a 4-hour drive for me. But
is it? Okay.
The fact that they're in the UK is good enough for me. It's better than flying all the way to New York for a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of my Mets story, really. It's not as simple as some people where it's like, oh, my dad got me into it, or it's generational. But
no, it's great. I love it.
Yeah, found a real connection with this team, and joined Mets Twitter a couple of years ago as well, and have a great time there, meeting up with people. And
I noticed the Mets Twitter in the UK has a pretty big community. There's a couple pages and whatnot.
Yeah, there's loads of Mets fans over here. It's something I've noticed certainly over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, really, where baseball's starting to grow a bit more in the UK now. And we've got there's a place in London where they've got batting cage and they show games. And when I first started watching it in sort of late 90s, early 2000s, you'd see Yankee hats because it was the fashion thing. You'd see the odd Red Sox hat because the Irish connection.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You'd maybe get some LA ones that might be a bit niche, but again, it was a bit sort of fashion. But that was it. And now you see all kinds of teams. There was about 3 or 4 months ago, I saw a guy in a Rockies hat, and I gave him a smile and a nod.
Really?
I was just like, I feel your pain on that one, but at least you like baseball,
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, so it's funny enough, you get to more games than I do. I live in Pennsylvania now. I grew up in New York, and I've been here since 2006. So I go to all the games in Pittsburgh to see them at PNC, which if you've never been there, I'd suggest you make a trip out there sometime. That's a great park.
It's on my wish list. I've got 4 or 5 where I really want to go to, PNC being one of them. I want to do the Giants, Cardinals, and Fenway. Those are my must-dos. But I'd probably do some others as well.
Yeah. So it's just funny because you get to more games at City than I do. I go, like I said, I go to all the Pittsburgh ones, but I don't get to New York that often. I'm about 6-7 hours away. So just not something I get to do that. I think the last time I went was 2017. But wow. I watch every game. Obviously, I'm a content creator, so I'm fully immersed, and I love that story. So I guess the other thing I want to ask you, how often do you get to watch? Because I know there's a big time difference. How often do you get to watch the games?
Yeah, so we are 5 hours ahead of New York time, so it's nearly 9 o'clock here in the UK. So generally speaking, if we've got games like today where it's like a midday 1 o'clock kind of start, that's sort of around 5-6 o'clock in the UK. So those are pretty good games. We like the sort of road days, if you like, because it means we can watch them fairly early. Sort of 4 p.m. games are about 9 o'clock our time, so I catch most of those as well. But it's the 7 o'clock starts during the week. I find those quite difficult to watch because those games kind of start at midnight. They don't finish till about 3 in the morning, and
that's rough.
I've got work the next day.
So do you catch the highlights the next day, or is that how you keep up?
I always catch the highlights the next day. Actually, I really like the West Coast games because although it's 3 o'clock in the morning sort of start time here in the UK, it means I get up for work a couple of hours earlier than I normally would, and I can catch the game before I go to work. So when we're playing the Dodgers and the Giants and stuff, I'm all for that because
wow,
as well.
Yeah, over here on the East Coast, we can't stand the West Coast games, but yeah, it would be great for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I
wow.
catch as many as I can. Obviously, work dependent, but yeah.
Awesome. So obviously you've been to a few games. So the game next year, you said you're 4 hours away from where it's being held?
Yeah, so London's about 4 hours down the south of the country for me, so it's not too bad. It's worth the trip to go and see the
Gotcha.
Mets, but
so you probably get a hotel. Will you get like a hotel? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go to both games and I'll see that. But I'm actually going to they've got the Cardinals are playing the Cubs this year.
That'll be a good one.
I'm going to one of those because, like you say, it'll be a good one. But also, then I kind of know what I need to do for next year, like seat wise and like the experience and the day and stuff. So,
gotcha. What venue are they playing that at?
It's in the Olympic Stadium, which is mostly used for soccer now. But yeah, they've been using it for that. It's about 60,000, so it's quite a big crowd.
Wow.
They don't sell out the games. So like the Cubs Cardinals one this year hasn't sold out yet. So yeah, if Mets fans want to come over and catch the game in London, the tickets usually go on sale about November, December time.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think you've heard of the 7-Line Army, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to say they're planning on going out for that next year, so that'll be cool. Yeah. I don't know if I'd love to be able to get out there, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna definitely try though. That would be awesome. I've actually never
massive Mets meet up before the game.
Yeah, that would be sweet. I've actually never been. Well, I've been to Puerto Rico. That's the only place outside of the country I've been in. So yeah, it'd be cool to get out there. So definitely gonna keep an eye out on that. So. Thoughts on the team this year? How are you feeling so far?
I don't know, man. Like, obviously, there's a lot of frustration with the team, and I get that. It's nice that since Steve took over the team, like expectations have gone up. Certainly, it's great, and rightly so. You know, when you're spending that kind of money on a team, you should have high expectations and want us to do well, and I'm all for that. But I feel like at the moment, people are a little bit too quick to point the finger to try and blame one person or one thing. And I mean, like, no one's infallible, but I feel like we've got a really good team there. And the fact that it's unchanged from last year, you know, we're still mostly that team. But I think, like, you know, people are calling for Epler to go, but a lot of the things that have happened, it's not his fault directly. Do you know what I mean? Like, Scherzer's sticky stuff ban, it's not Epler's fault. You know, Quintana getting a tumor on his rib, how could anyone predict that? You know, I mean, there's some stuff he's done that's not great. Like, we all know the rough trade was just awful.
Yeah.
Vogelback's like really struggling at the moment, and it's kind of hard to justify that, and I get that. So he's not perfect by any means, but I don't think he's the sole reason we're doing badly. You know, I've seen a few wild takes today about people calling for Buck to go because of his lineup selections. And again, you know, I don't feel like he's the problem either. I think we had the disappointing end to the year last year, and, you know, none of us wanted it to go that way. The fact that, you know, we win 101 games, still didn't get the division, and then went out early in the postseason. I kind of feel like that's hung over a little bit into this year. Mentally with the players. Obviously the World Baseball Classic has kind of affected things as well. The rule change.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things that are different this year from last year. I don't feel like we can pinpoint it down to being one thing that's gone wrong or is going wrong. I'm very much a positive Mets fan, as you can probably guess. I try to look on the bright side of things. I think, you know, we've seen it in the last couple of days with the Rays, like we're starting to turn things around. And I almost wonder whether, because we went all in on trying to beat the Braves for the division last year, we kind of burnt ourselves out by...
It's an excellent point.
You know, and we then had nothing left in the postseason. And I don't for one second think that the players haven't been trying, because they're professional athletes. Of course, they're going to try. You can't switch that off. But I don't think they've been playing at 100%. I think that it's almost like they're holding themselves back a little bit so that we've got a little bit more energy in the tank by the time September hits, almost a bit like the Phillies did last year, where if we can get hot after the All-Star game, we can just go on a massive tear. We'll still get into the postseason. And then we've got that energy in the tank where we can really kick on and try and go a lot further than we did last year. So I kind of feel like that's where we're at really at the moment. Whether people agree or disagree, I don't know.
I think it's a little all over the place. I noticed on Mets Twitter, because that's how I stay connected to a lot of Mets fans. You get your ultra positive fans, you get your like ultra negative, and you get the ones where I kind of was kind of in the middle. I try to like not get too high or too low, just because I feel like if you ever get too high and too low, it just drives you crazy. Like it's a way to burn yourself out. There's 162 of these games. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll admit the last couple of days, Buck with his lineups has kind of irked me. I've gone on a little bit of a tirade. I get it. I mean, it's work. We won the game, so I can't knock them for that. It's just, I don't know. When these kids are up here, I'd rather see the kids play than see Tommy Pham and Vogelback and guys like that. But hey, if we win, we win. So I'm happy with the wins.
Yeah, and hey, Pham actually played pretty well today. Like he was really handling, and he was really, really good, I thought. Yeah,
for sure. And that's the thing. You question these decisions, and then it kind of makes you look dumb when they turn around and play well. Yeah, exactly. So it is what it is. It's part of being a fan. Obviously, you're going to react to what you see, and things happen. And sometimes you look like an idiot. Sometimes you look smart. It depends on the day. But yeah, I agree with you with a lot of that, especially last year. I thought for sure that we fought so hard to keep that division lead that I think it definitely burned them out there at the end. They just didn't have enough left in the tank. And the Braves didn't either, because they got bounced early in the playoffs too. So I think we kind of hurt each other in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, even then, if you like take last season out of the equation and look at this season, like at the moment, you've got, Yankees haven't got off to a great start. Red Sox are bottom of their division, but they're kind of going through a lot at the moment. But, Cardinals are the rock bottom. Padres and the Giants, they're less than 500 at the moment. It's all of those teams, apart from maybe the Red Sox, you would have said before the season started, postseason for sure. And yet they've all got off to a really slow start, which is why I'm kind of feeling optimistic about our slow start, really, in that maybe we're doing what those teams are doing. We're playing it safe. We're not going too soon. I don't know. But, at the end of the day, you go out and you get Verlander, who was the best pitching free agent. We've gone out and made quality signings, yet injuries and everything else that happened at the start of the season, we were using Jose Butto, who was like 9th on the starting pitcher.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
It's just bad luck. We've had a lot of bad luck, but it's not like, oh, we're cursed, lol Mets and all that kind of stuff. We've just had bad luck, and that has to come to an end at some point. It's not going to last all season. And I think we are now starting to turn around that, definitely.
I love that you've only been a fan for less than 10 years and you've got like all the terminology down. Like you definitely studied up.
Oh yeah. Like,
I love it.
Yeah, like the pain of like the Jed Lowrys and Cespedes falling off the horse. I've lived all that stuff. It might not be like the 93 Mets, and like the people that lived through that, I really feel for them. But like
93 is actually the first season I can remember. I'm 36. So that's like the first season I remember as a kid. And funny enough, I'm still a Mets fan. So
it didn't put you off.
No, it didn't. I loved watching them, even though they stunk. So I've been groomed to just with the pain throughout my life. So you definitely used to it. I saw a lot of it in the 90s.
Yeah. Was it generational for you then? Were you like?
Yeah, like I said, I grew up in New York. My most of my family were Mets fans. Most of the people in the neighborhood were Mets fans. So I just kind of picked up with it. They'd have obviously ran into a lot of Yankee fans, but I'm like you. It just wasn't for me. I just never connected with them. So
yeah.
and I'm glad I'm not a front runner, so it's not for me. I kind of like to root for the underdog, although I would like to win a World Series one of these years.
Yeah, it would be nice. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to win it this year?
This year, oh man, the optimist in me wants to say yes, but I don't think I'm ready to say that quite yet. I think it'll be sooner than later though. I think in the next. Well, Steve had a 5-year plan. He said, I mean, he kind of regrets saying that right now, but I'd say within the next 3 or 4 years, I could see us definitely winning a series.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
we've got so many young kids ready to produce and help, and even younger guys in the lower minors that I think those guys are going to be a big boost for us in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice not to have to pay $400 million every year for.
Yeah,
I mean, he has the money, but yeah. So I thought of a couple other questions while we were here talking. I like your shirt there, the LFGM. Can you find Mets gear out there, or do you have to order it online?
So yeah, this is 1986. Shout out to him.
Nice.
So I got this one sent over. There's a few sort of jerseys I've picked up off eBay and things like that, sort of classics and things. We've got MLB sort of Fanatics UKEU kind of store, but it's a joke. Like they're still selling Syndergaard and DeGrom.
Oh wow!
And like it's so out of date. So normally what I do is I wait until I go over to New York, get a bunch of stuff while I'm there, or I pay the extra and have stuff shipped over. But
cool.
Yeah, it just depends.
All right. So who's your all-time favorite? I mean, you haven't been a fan for that, but all-time favorite Met?
Oh man, I think for me it's Bartolo. Just for the entertainment. I know, like when I first started watching baseball, I was into like the big hits and that kind of stuff. But I've really grown to love the pitching element of the game. I loved reading about R.A. Dickey, even though I never watched him like play live for the Mets and stuff, like knuckleball and all that stuff. I find it really fascinating. Like Senga's Ghost Walk this year is it's
phenomenal.
So yeah, I've always been more of a pitching kind of fan than a hitting or fielding kind of fan. So yeah,
you got Bartolo at the tail end of his career. He was phenomenal when he was up and coming.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as like current Mets roster, like Diaz is my favorite. What about you?
My all-time favorite's Mike Piazza. I'm sure you've read up on him. Yeah. Hall of Famer. My current favorite is Lindor. But I really like Alvarez. I'm really becoming a fan of his really quick.
Yeah, he's really impressing me.
Yeah, his catching behind the plate is phenomenal.
It's the framing. I don't get how he can move his hand that quickly.
He fools the umps all the time. Yeah, it's very nice. It's funny because they said like that was his big detriment was supposed to be his defense, and to me, it's been fantastic. So
yeah, that's the thing. Like he's not even reached his ceiling yet, and it's like
not at all, not even close.
Like how good's he going to become?
Exactly.
It's exciting. If we can get a few more prospects like him, I think we'll be fine for a while.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, Beatty looks good. Vientos looked good yesterday. We've got Mauricio still down there, and then there's even younger guys behind them. So, yeah, I'm excited for the future.
It's just the pitching side. I think we need a few quality.
You're right. We don't have a lot of arms. Mike Vassell, I think, is the best one at AA right now. But besides that, AAA, we have nothing. And then I don't know if you saw, but the last like 2 or 3 days, we've had a couple of AAA pitchers thrown out for using sticky stuff.
Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy.
I don't know what's going on with that, but I guess MLB's cracking down across the board with the sticky stuff. Herman from the Yankees got thrown out the other day. Obviously, Scherzer.
So blatant though. Like you saw the brown stain on the
yeah,
towel.
It's interesting to see. I don't know. The game is, like you said a little bit ago, the game is changing a lot, and it's a big adjustment with the clock and the shift ban and everything else. I think that's a lot of reasons. A lot of teams are struggling too. They're all getting accustomed to everything.
Yeah, and the fact that they didn't have any of those rule changes at the WBC, I think
that was big.
Like, here's the tournament on the old rules. Now go and play in the new rules without the spring training adjustment for those kind of players. And yeah, I don't know how they're getting their heads around it.
Speaking of the WBC, were you big into like the UK team or no, not so much?
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
You were? Okay, cool.
Love those guys. Like, considering for us that was the first time we've ever qualified, it's grown exponentially, in the 20 years that they've been doing that kind of stuff. And it's really hit into like loads of schools over here, picked it up, and it's going to help grow the game massively over here. The fact that they did so well, we were never going to win. Never in a million years, It's like saying
never say never.
Yeah, but it's like saying like, oh yeah, the Rockies are going to win the World Series. You're like, come on,
Yeah.
But it's done well. Like we've now got to the point where the BBC are now picking up baseball as well. So there's a Dodgers game being shown this weekend on like UK TV at like whatever time that's on. But it's definitely growing, and I think the GB effort of the WBC has definitely helped. And the fact that we've qualified for the next one, we can then kick on a little bit more from what we did this time. Hopefully with some better jerseys, though. Those jerseys were absolutely awful.
I was going to say, hopefully they give you better jerseys. What was that? That was... It's like they didn't even try. They just slapped Great Britain on there and called it a day.
It's like they'd left it until like 2 minutes before the deadline and gone,
yeah.
That'll do, And then when the team fell off, that was just...
Oh, no. Yeah, that was bad. The jerseys were already getting picked on enough, and then the letter falls off, and it's like, come on.
Yeah.
So, kind of last thing I want to tell you, said you aren't big into football or soccer or...
No, it's kind of in the UK, it's kind of like it's almost forced on you. Like if you don't follow it, you're not in the conversations, and like if you don't like it, it's seen as a bit weird. And like I've played it as a kid, and if a game's on and I'm with friends, like I'll watch it. I'm not going to leave the room or anything, but it's never something I would seek out. I still watch ice hockey. I still watch basketball. There's the whole ton of other sports I'd watch over that. It's not for me. It's the modern game. It's not fun to watch. Like when they barely get touched and they're rolling around on the floor pretending to be injured and stuff. It's just, I haven't got time for that.
So are you into any other sports as much as you're into baseball, or no, it's just baseball?
No, I mean, once upon a time, ice hockey, like I was
ice hockey
as much as baseball now, but I think that's kind of faded off a little bit. Baseball's definitely more me. I still watch the game from time to time, but I'd probably, if I was to rank it, I'd say like baseball first, basketball second, ice hockey third. I've been enjoying watching the Knicks. That's been fun. It's been good watching them in the playoffs. But
I love that you're into all my teams. It's great. All right, man. Well, I thank you so much. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been great.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to end off on? Anything you want to say? Nothing.
Let's fucking go Mets.
Perfect. Love it. Let's fucking go Mets. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, watching, however you're consuming the show. Please like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube at Country Mets Fan. Follow Tom on Twitter at TomNYMUK. Give him a follow. He's a good follow. He's a positive Mets fan. So if you're into the positivity, you're definitely going to like to follow him. And again, thank you so much, Tom, for joining me.
Thanks.
And have a great trip to the city.
Yeah, cheers.
All right. Have a good one.